All right, today we're looking at these transformations that were taking place in Europe. And it's important to note that all of these transformations that we're about to talk about were going on at the same time as that age of European exploration. And so while Europe was out exploring the oceans and colonizing the Americas, there were also a wide variety of changes that were taking place within Europe. And so that's what we're going to focus on today. So the first of these transformations we're going to look at is the Protestant Reformation. And so the Protestant Reformation is simply the rise of all of our Protestant religions that break away from the Catholic Church. And there are many underlying causes for the Protestant Reformation, but one of the biggest underlying causes is the spread of the printing press. The printing press made the production of books cheaper. And one of the most produced books, in fact, the most produced book was the Bible. And so as literacy rates increased across Europe, more people could read, and they began to read the Bible for themselves. Whereas before, most people had to rely on the church to read and interpret the Bible for them. And so as more and more people began to read the Bible for themselves, they began to come up with some different interpretations of the Bible than what the Catholic Church had. And that's ultimately one of the biggest underlying causes of the whole Protestant Reformation. Now, the spark that's going to ignite this Protestant Reformation is Martin Luther. Martin Luther is going to read and interpret the Bible in different ways that kind of clash with the Catholic Church's interpretation of the Bible. And he's also going to have a variety of grievances against practices in the church. And so one of these grievances was the sale of indulgences. And the sale of indulgences was where the church would basically sell a forgiveness of your sins. And so you could buy your forgiveness of sins, and you could buy it for yourself. You might buy it for a loved one who had recently passed away. And the idea was that this would shorten your time in purgatory. And so Luther began to argue that if the church has the power to free people from purgatory and forgive them of their sins, they should be doing it for the good of God and for the good of people instead of charging for it. And he also came into many other disagreements as well. He believed that priests should be allowed to marry. He believed that you did not need good works in order to reach heaven, that faith alone would allow you to reach heaven. And so he compiles these grievances into a document called the 95 Thesis. And the story goes that he nailed this 95 Thesis to the door of the Wittenberg Cathedral. That probably didn't actually take place, but the printing press helped spread his ideas. And more people began to kind of agree with Martin Luther. And so Martin Luther is going to win many followers, especially in Germany. And German princes begin to kind of adopt what would become Lutheranism, not only for the religious beliefs, but also because it gave them a chance to break free from the power of the Catholic Church, and specifically the Pope. And many German peasants also began to adopt Lutheranism as well. And so this becomes the beginning of this Protestant Reformation. And soon, many other groups are going to break away from the Catholic Church as well. For example, in England, King Henry VIII wanted a divorce from his wife because she wasn't giving him the male heir that he had hoped for. And so when the Catholic Church denies him this divorce, he's going to break away and they're going to form the Church of England, or the Anglican Church. And he would actually go on to have 5 other wives, and 2 of which he would have killed. We're also going to see John Calvin. John Calvin is going to organize what becomes known as Calvinism, a Protestant community in Geneva. They believed in predestination, or the belief that basically before you're ever born, it's already been predetermined whether or not you would receive salvation. They also believed in a strong emphasis on education. The idea was that the more people became educated, the more people that could read and study the Bible. In response to the Protestant Reformation, the Catholic Church is going to launch what's sometimes referred to as a counter Reformation or this Catholic Reformation. And the purpose was to basically attack some of the beliefs of these Protestants, also to clean up some of the corruption in the Catholic Church as well, and try to win back followers. And so at the Council of Trent, the Catholic Church is going to meet to kind of reconcile some of these differences. And they kind of reaffirm some of their own ideas. They get rid of some of the corruption in the church, like the sale of indulgences, and come to some general agreements on Catholic ideology. We're also going to see the rise of the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus. This is a group that was founded in 1540 by Ignatius Loyola, and they focused on education, and they were extremely well educated, and then they used that to help win back followers for the Catholic Church. And what made them so effective was because they were so well educated, they could basically out-argue everybody else when it came to theological issues. And so they did. They helped win back followers and also encouraged missionary work for the Catholic Church.